This is Serial Killer's Encyclopedia, the book of the world's worst murderers in history, written by Martin G. Welsh, read by John Hayes.
This is the Golden State Killer book, What Lies Beneath the True Story of the East Area Rapist Psychopath, a.k.a. the Night Stalker that Kills in the Dark, Serial Killer's True Crime Documentary Series, written by Martin G. Welsh, read by Nick Dolle. Introduction. I want to thank you and congratulate you for downloading the audio program, The Golden State Killer. This audiobook provides a brief overview of the crimes committed by the so-called Golden State Killer, who terrorized California for more than a decade. He is believed to have committed over 50 rapes, more than 120 burglaries, and at least 12 murders before abruptly stopping in 1986. Investigators initially believed that the case had gone cold for good and the killer would never be identified. But the dogged efforts of those who wanted to see justice done, aided by technological breakthrough, finally led to an arrest and closure for the survivors of the crimes and the families of the victims. In this audiobook, you will learn how police were able to find their needle in a haystack and zero in on the killer. How investigators were able to determine that what initially seemed to be 3 separate crime sprees had actually been committed by a single individual. What might have triggered the suspect to commit his heinous crimes, and more. Thanks again for downloading this audiobook. I hope you enjoy it. Chapter 1. The Arrest. The arrest would not have passed muster with muskers of Hollywood cop dramas and thrillers. It did not involve any dramatic shootouts or car chases. The suspect did not resist. Members of the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department simply took him into custody outside his home on the afternoon of April 24, 2018, as unbelieving neighbors looked on. D'Angelo's arrest finally gave closure to a reign of terror that began more than 40 years ago. The Golden State Killer, as he would eventually come to be known, is believed to have committed 45 rapes and at least 12 murders across 10 California counties from 1974 to 1986. In addition, he's been linked to more than 100 crimes. It had seemed that the case would remain cold forever, were it not for the dedicated efforts of investigators, as well as a technological breakthrough that finally made it possible for him to be identified. Before the police were able to attribute all these crimes as being committed by a single person, they initially believed the crimes were 3 separate sprees committed by different individuals. The initial series of crimes were 120 burglaries and the murder of Claude Snelling, attributed to a person nicknamed the Visalia Ransacker, who committed them from April 1974 to December 1975. This was followed by a series of rapes which took place from June 1974 to July 1975, and which were attributed to the East Area Rapist. Finally, the perpetrator moved to Southern California, where he began to kill his victims after raping them. He was known as the original Night Stalker. Originally, the perpetrator had been simply known as the Night Stalker, but was given his new nickname after serial killer Richard Ramirez was given the former nickname due to his having a similar modus operandi, M.O. Anger poured out of him. The man that police believed to be the Golden State Killer led an extraordinary double life. Now 72, Joseph James D'Angelo had lived quietly in the Northern California suburb of Citrus Heights for decades, residing in a ranch-style house with a daughter and granddaughter. James Huddle, D'Angelo's brother-in-law, described him as a good father who displayed no sinister behavior and who enjoyed ordinary hobbies such as fishing, although he was reportedly very interested in guns. His neighbors, however, held a more mixed opinion of him. Although they provided differing accounts to reports of whether or not he seemed normal, many mentioned that he had a very short temper. Grant Gorman said that anger poured out of him and that he often saw him pacing in circles around his backyard, yelling at nothing. These outbursts dated back decades, Gorman added, noting that in 1994, D'Angelo left a threatening voicemail in which he said he would deliver a load of death if Gorman's family did not stop their dog from barking. Natalia Baniscarenti, another neighbor, said that the residents referred to him as a freak due to his temper tantrums, which were often triggered by his inability to find his keys. Kevin Tapia, who lived near his house, said they could often hear him yelling inside his home and would sometimes yell at neighbors for minor annoyances. In recent years, however, other residents claimed that D'Angelo seemed to have mellowed, and many of the block even grew to like him. Next door, neighbor Corey Harvey said that he helped to pay for a fence between their 2 properties and became more conscious about his swearing, apologizing when he saw she overheard him. Still, it took them by surprise when police arrived at his house that late Tuesday afternoon. They said they had no idea that their eccentric neighbor they had lived with for decades was actually the rapist and killer who had
Sample complete. Ready to continue?